Weight loss expert Dr. Jason Fung says that out of the millions of Americans trying to lose weight today, only about 1% actually succeed.
When you actually study how many people actually achieve a normal weight, it's very, very low. So less than 1% actually. It's about, if you look at people, it's about a 99.7% failure rate, which is insane.
That's because most people who want to lose weight spend their energy on methods that are largely ineffective for actual fat loss. Things like obsessively counting calories or relying solely on workouts at the gym.
We know that if you exercise, and I say this, exercise is really good for you in a number of ways. Flexibility, strength, core, all kinds of things. So very, very important. But in terms of weight loss, it's actually a very, very small effect. Why? Because one, the amount of calories you burn during exercise are simply not that high. And if you ever go on the treadmill and you ever watch the calorie counter on the treadmill, it goes up very, very slowly, right? You'll do half an hour and it'll be up to like 120 calories or something like that, right? So that exercise really didn't burn off very many calories. It's the amount that you'd get in a couple of cookies, for example, right? So it's just numerically, it's just very small.
A far more effective approach to weight loss is the exact formula of actions that influences your cravings, reverses insulin resistance, and pushes the body to use fat cells as a source of energy. Dr. Fung refers to this process as regulating your body's fat thermostat.
How much body fat we carry is actually mission critical and therefore controlled by homeostasis. This means that we control it up or down based on hormones and neurotransmitter, just like everything else in our body. That's just the way it works. If you are overweight, it is because your thermostat is set too high, which is making the calories in, calories out a problem through the mechanisms of hunger, satiety, and metabolic rate.
The first step is to follow what he calls the rule of 2 4s. That means avoiding food for 4 hours before sleep and 4 hours after waking up. Eating late at night is one of the main drivers of insulin resistance and fat accumulation. First, because a late meal disrupts the natural overnight fasting window, when your body normally has the chance to burn off excess energy. Insulin spikes follow, and those spikes block the breakdown of fat cells. Second, it interferes with sleep quality. Instead of resting, your body shifts into digestion mode. Rather than producing melatonin, your system is busy running metabolic processes, and to support those processes late at night, it begins releasing cortisol. By morning, this creates a cascade effect. Elevated cortisol and elevated insulin combine with what's known as the dawn phenomenon, the natural early morning rise in blood sugar. The result is a metabolic environment that makes fat loss much harder.
The dawn phenomenon happens in everybody. People, when they just about to wake up, somewhere around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, the body, because of its circadian rhythm, releases a surge of counter-regulatory hormones. And what it does is it takes the sugar from your storage systems, pumps it out into the blood, and gets you ready for the day ahead. That's why you don't have to eat first thing in the morning if you don't want to, because your body's already prepped you up and gave you energy to get going.
In other words, the negative effects of insulin and cortisol become twice as strong. Morning turns into a critical window when your body is at its most insulin resistant, while cortisol actively drives fat storage in the abdominal area. But if you avoid eating for 4 hours before sleep and 4 hours after waking, the hormonal response becomes much more balanced. At night, you create a longer fasting window that allows your body to burn through excess energy by breaking down stored fat. Then, in the morning, instead of immediately introducing new calories, you spend the energy that has already been released. This naturally extends the fasting period and helps reduce cravings throughout the day by stabilizing those early insulin spikes.
If you skip breakfast, you eat, on average, about 260 calories less per day over that full day. That is, when you skip breakfast, you don't tend to overcompensate by eating more at lunch or eating more snack foods during the day or junk foods
or so on. And that explains the weight loss. If you're not eating more, then you're not going to be gaining weight. So the best evidence available says that skipping breakfast actually helps you lose weight by causing you to eat less.
Reducing cravings and managing insulin spikes naturally leads to mindful eating. This is the next key principle in Dr. Jason Fung's approach to weight loss. Mindful eating helps you deal with hunger and keep snacking throughout the day to a minimum. Fewer snacks mean more stable insulin levels, and stable insulin allows your body not only to store energy, but also to burn it. According to Dr. Fung, mindfulness in eating means clearly understanding why you are eating in the first place. It's about having an honest conversation with yourself and asking a simple question: am I truly hungry, or am I just reacting to emotions?
Mindfulness is a really great tool where you really try to be mindful of what you're eating and why you're eating it, right? Like when you're eating a cookie, am I really eating this because I'm hungry? Or is it because I just want to, because I'm feeling a little down, right? And it's okay. It doesn't mean you don't eat that cookie, because if you feel better, then that's but at least you know why. Because then if it's always the case that you're always eating those cookies, then you know why. And then you have to say, hey, what can I do to switch out? Like maybe instead of eating this cookie to feel better, I will book some time with my friend and go out with my friend or my sister or my brother or my parents, right? And I'm going to do that so that I get that same, emotional support that this cookie is giving me. So mindfulness is a huge, important thing to think about.
In essence, this is about reprogramming yourself so that your emotions and daily habits no longer revolve around food. Your emotional state is also physiology. Think about Pavlov's famous experiment. The scientist fed a dog every time he turned on a light. After a while, the light alone was enough to trigger the dog's desire to eat, even when it wasn't hungry. The same mechanism works in people. A certain emotion or routine can trigger the hormonal signals that make you want to eat, even when your body doesn't actually need food. But the process also works in the opposite direction. Try eating at the same times every day. Create a consistent environment for your meals, even during the workday. For example, it's better not to eat lunch at your desk or inside the office if possible. Otherwise, that place itself can start triggering the urge to eat. If you feel stressed or emotionally upset, avoid eating during that moment. That way, those emotions won't become linked to hunger later on. Another useful habit is to write down every extra eating episode outside of breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And at the end of the day, ask yourself why you wanted to eat. Over time, you'll notice something interesting. The number of eating occasions begins to drop dramatically. As that happens, your fasting periods naturally become longer, and those longer fasting windows make fat loss much easier.
The whole point is that if you are stimulating insulin, which is telling your body to store body fat, and you do it 6 times a day, that's going to be far less effective if you're trying to lose weight than if you only stimulate it twice a day or once a day.
At the same time, every meal should be structured properly. The problem is that many people trying to lose weight don't really understand what proper means. That's why Dr. Fung suggests using a simple guideline, the rule of the 5 fingers. The idea is straightforward. Each food group is measured using a part of your hand, turning your diet into a clear and practical system. Protein foods, such as meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, are measured with your palm. A portion should be about the size of the rounded part of your palm, from the base of your fingers to your wrist, and roughly the same thickness. Vegetables are measured with your fist. 1 serving equals the volume of your fist, while leafy greens can be eaten almost without restriction because of their very low calorie density. Carbohydrates, things like grains, cereals, fruit, berries, and starchy foods such as potatoes or corn, are measured with a cupped hand, like you're holding a small handful. Fats are measured with your thumb. 1 portion is roughly the size of your thumb from base to tip. In the end, your hand becomes a universal tool for controlling portion sizes. But one principle still matters above all. The food you eat should be natural and minimally processed.
Cut out the refined foods.
not just carbohydrates, but also the refined proteins and the refined fat. You got to eat real foods. That is, eat them as close to nature as they are found. Real fats are not something that you need to worry about. Olive oil, avocados, for example. Now we recognize that these high-fat foods can in fact be extremely healthy for you and not cause you a lot of weight gain. It's not simply the carbohydrates in our diet, of course, because our diet has multiple factors, and every time we refine foods, we change them, and that means our body is going to process them differently. So not just the carbohydrates, but refined fats, refined proteins, you need to cut those out.
By following this precise formula for weight loss, you begin influencing your body at the level of metabolism itself. In many ways, it requires less physical effort and more psychological discipline, but the results tend to come much faster. In fact, within about 36 hours, you may start to notice the first shift, when your body moves toward using fat as its primary source of energy. And once that transition happens, losing weight becomes noticeably easier,